Hey everyone, we'll be starting shortly. Please bear with me as I get everything set up. Alright. It's there. Close this. Close these. Connection seems to be okay. I think we're good to go. So, hello everyone. Welcome to another stream. The first for this week. Today we are continuing with the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last time we had continued our investigation into the stabbing of a woman in the streets on a foggy winter's night. And Naruhodo was unsure of whether he was going to defend the man or not. Doesn't feel up to it after his previous case, and the guy died regardless of what he tried to do. But in the end, he decided to do it. After we finished last time, he found that Scholes was around as well. We found out that the guy that looks like a moon from one side has actually been slapped in the face by his wife, who is actually his maid, and then his maid is angry because she thinks that a random woman was flirting with him, whether you actually got the wrong person, but she wouldn't listen because she was just an oblivious skank. We just started and I'm already calling her names. But yeah. All that happened. We had those investigations. We checked out the room. The guy likes cats. He has a real cat, and he also has one of those luck cats in Japan. The ones that like beckon for luck to come. And he had a lot of books. His room was stuffed full with books. He even slept on books. No wonder he's weird. But yeah. And we also learned about the Reaper's Curse, that even if the person is found not guilty, they die under mysterious circumstances, and it always ties back to the Reaper in some way. Ooh. It's a load of hogwash, but yeah, we're going to see if we can figure that out while we're in case. We're going to see if we're going to have the same jury as well. I don't know if they change it out every single time or if it's the same ones, but usually in the court of law, they change it every time. But we shall see. And yeah, I think that's everything. So welcome. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. Mine was all right. I have been trying but failing to fix my sleep schedule. I've slept this for years, and I am still trying, and I still fail. It's actively getting worse. So I'm gonna try and go to bed early today. So we're gonna try and see about keeping this as succinct as possible. If it's gonna be 2 hours, it's gonna be 2 hours today, and yeah. Hopefully this stream will only be 2 hours. So without further ado, let us get into the game and see what we can get up to. Let's see if we can get this guy convicted, eh? Intentionally. We'll make him lose. Hey, Raffatron. Welcome. The recurring jurors is a running gag. Why did I say jag? There's no J. Probably because it's got the word jurors in it. So I kept jurors in my head. Oh, prison. We have been locked away for our crimes against humanity. Yep, sounds picked up, showing up on there. Refreshing the stream. It's always behind. Oh, now it shows the view button. Yes, we're all good. Right, continue. The Adventures of the Clouded Kokoro, Trial, Part 1. Back in the fancy room. 20th of February, 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back here again so soon? Well, we are on a study tour of Great Britain with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we needed as much court experience as possible. Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court. It could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as a research may seem a little crass. Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Good morning. Oh, it's you. Ah, Mr. Natsume. Good morning. Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. The early bird catches the worm, as they say in here in Britain. Yes, I've heard that expression. I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately to not wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now, I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. Do all literary people take things so literally? Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified, too tremble. Really? Because I feel tremors in the floor. I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, local student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes? I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Mr. Susato? Probably because of the Reaper. I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea. So that all-knowing look on your face is just a coincidence, is it? Don't hide the truth from me! It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Van Zeeks. Is that right, Miss Susato? I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zeeks is on the front page of every one. I knew it! Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey, he stopped appearing in court, it seems. Been several years now, in fact, up until the day before yesterday. Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zeek's return in the courtroom after a very long hiatus. The trial of Magnus Begilded. Ugh, what a harrowing experience that was. I believe that appearances may have made even greater waves here in the capital than today's. But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country. But why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon for what appears to be a mundane murder? Murder? That's the question the paper is asking, and they are speculating various answers. Mundane? Mundane? It's the most significant saga of the century in some of us! Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume. That is how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there are other blatant similarities with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. It's you! Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times it is you who stands before the legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper. Please, I don't rub soldiers with Deathbringers. I'm afraid there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck. Thanks for that. Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive! Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student, new to London with a little in the way of experience or skills. Or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Oh, benevolent local student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side, even as you're on the chopping block. We'll believe in you. Oh, benevolent locums, non-locum assistant Miss Matoba, Mikotoba, Esquires, your name is much harder to do. I'm in your debt forever. I shall never forget the great kindness for as long as I live. Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way to the courtroom at once. All right then, Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go. Yes! This is it. My second appearance in British courtroom. In a British courtroom. My second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. Yay! February, 10 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels of the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are truly a fascinating. Sorry, what? Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago, a mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Suzato-san. You don't do that line justice? Well, gee, thanks! After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent. Very true. The most fascinating, if dark, trial it was too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted and his unfortunate violent end. You did change them. Wait a minute, wait! I just noticed the guy that's on there. Thank you for your counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? Are you here? You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone. Oh, okay. Dock lady. I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear. Oh, well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. Why are you on the council? I'm afraid to say, I think it's quite possible that Mustache Foreigner did the deed. Come on, what are we waiting for? No, Daddy did it anyway. Eh? Sorry? Didn't quite catch that. Why do they always have to have an old guy, an old person on the table? Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zeeks. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Sasaki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably that kindness has not been returned. That this student is accused of a most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are. Just look at that sallow complexion and sort of stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese. Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3. There. Sorry, didn't quite catch that. Pray forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hollow chalice here in the great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. It's Chipman. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events for the case of the court? For the court, Inspector. The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be. Yes, having been stabbed in the back by an attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. And that was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. What? So they don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose, I see. But her life is not in danger. Fortunately for the Eastern students, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, at 5 around in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running along Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Oh. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we were unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. Case file. Found the knife in the back and is currently in hospital, yet to regain consciousness. What of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have it here. It was removed from the victim's back. It's a switchblade. Or a pocket knife. Whichever. Ouch, that big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. With a heavy blade like that, it's almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman. Even the scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say, rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. Jackknife. And now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? From what we've been able to tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems that she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment towards the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
If theft and grievances have been ruled out as motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Oh, sure, just throw the wine bottle. Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. But your words have soured its hollow bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who has been heavy-handed here. What? So Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. Yes, sir. Mr. Natsumi's arrest. Before anything, I should probably examine the new stuff we got. Ooh. Whee! The tip's broken. Oh, look there, Mr. Naruhodo, just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. You're right. Well spotted, Mr. Zato. I saw it first, and congratulate me! I wonder what could have happened to it. Yes. You don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you? Oh dear, I do hope not. That sounds terribly painful. Well, that luckily they're in a coma, so they can't feel anything. That doesn't get updated with that? Really? Well, I didn't want to do that, but okay. Try to see if there's anything in the actual slot itself. No? No identifiable marks, no handprints, no blood prints. Which is odd. You'd think this thing would be covered in blood because the other murder weapon was. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed onto the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from the bookshop, it seems. This was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord, I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. Ah, yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take the photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. Crime scene photograph has been entered into the court record. A large knife has been thrust into the victim's back. You Nipponese are spineless breeds, too cowardly to admit defeat. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, Forgive me, Lord Van Zeeks, but the defendant is not defying everything as you put it. What are you doing, Mr. Sato? Do go on. Mr. Natsumi has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what happened. I was walking along that cursed pavement, and made it to the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green cover coat was there. She was, and just as I went to overtake her, she fucking died! She suddenly did a little scream and collapsed onto the cold hot slabs at the snow at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to the accursed dog and all. Damn it, Mickey Mouse. A green overcoat. Well, that's exactly like the woman in that print is wearing. Oh my, a photographic print in full color. What will the world come up next? The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean that he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time. Just the two of them, the victim and the accused. She's actually called Mickey later? Wow, okay. In other words, there is nobody else who could have possibly been stabbed. Who stabbed the woman? A fact that the accused concedes. Ugh. It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I'd have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance.
Hold it!
Hold it! A light fog, you say? Well, like for London, you can see the opposite side of the street for one. Not much farther, though. That's light, is it? Around these parts, yeah. Not something I'd expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course. I've read that London is famous for its fog. But in the country, or in my country, people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. How quaint. Yes, well, it's not something for us Londoners tend to romanticize, so I expect as you can appreciate. I see. At this time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm. Indeed. The other day, I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling. So sad as honest, I should have definitely remembered to stop, look and listen. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. In fact, no doubt lamented by the accused. Not really. He said it was too thick for him to see much. He could only see the woman, and that was it.
Hold it!
How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend, because this is what the witnesses to this crime have told us. Ah, yes, Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he? That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard. That is correct, ma'am. But then we must hear their testimonies. The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of the winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen... Unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the mist. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the night by gas streetlights. The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Sure. And also illuminated the sky, so then there won't be as many stars. Which means we really need to hear those witness statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector.
Hold it!
From behind, you say? That's right. As you can see from the print. Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. You say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in a critical condition? Comatose, no less. I'm afraid so, my lord, yes. She's been treated as Barnes. I was hopeful that she'd come around before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be. Yes, that's quite indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events. Luck is on us, your client's side, it seems. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid.
Hold it!
Mr. Natsumi's belongings. I think you'll find it all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were, irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. The accused could have easily have carried all 3 books in one hand, which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example. He's very clever, isn't he? What do you mean? He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsumi had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there. You mean to say the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust a knife into the woman's back? And that must have been what happened, my lord, yes.
Hold it!
The defendant apparently visited a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. A shop full of old English literature. Commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. The bloke's room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. The closest second-hand bookshop to the accused lodgings in this place here. Bourbon Books. A little place in the corner of Briar Road and Mearsham Street. Mershall. As it happens, the accused is currently living and lodging on the other side of Briar Road at the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Something like this. Local map information has been updated. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop. Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the inspector just told us it could turn out to be of vital importance. Yeah, I agree. The most important point that the inspector just made being... Yeah, the name of the bookshop. Your books. Let's also look at this. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe. Oh, well, you know, I mean, yes. It could be a very important clue. Very well. Note that I can't see it being of any great significance. Not that I. But please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? He was on his way from Bourbon Books, a second-hand bookshop he apparently patronizes. He was being mean to it? How dare he?
Hold it!
No, I didn't mean to press. I meant to present. The bookshop is called Bourbon Books, is it? That's right. That's the closest second-hand bookshop to the accused's lodgings. And to get from there back to his room, he would have gone right past the very spot where the incident took place. If I could just confirm one point, will you be sure that the defendant really did visit Bourbon Books on the day in question? Well, we haven't actually confirmed it, no. You haven't confirmed it? Why the devil not, Inspector? Well, the thing is, the shopkeeper's gone on a trip, you see, left the morning after the incident. To collect more stock, I'm told. So we, haven't been able to ask the bloke if the accused visited his shop on the day in question or not. Well, in that case, what did the defendant himself have to say about it? No recollection. What? According to the statement he made at the time, the accused has no recollection of where he'd been. Of course he doesn't. The bloke clearly has his head in the clouds whenever he's walking about town. He claims he just wanders into whatever bookshop he happens to be passing, and rarely notices the name. I should say the man ought to learn to look where he's going at the very least. So, it's just as I thought. Something the matter? Inspector, you may continue with your testimony. Bam, bam, bam. Bourbon Books, present.
Objection!
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. What is this? What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know. This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books. You found that in the accused's room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume. Yes, my lord. So, Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. I don't know why I said it like that. Eh? What? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that... Well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection!
But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And the receipt proves it.
Objection!
Yes, for what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it must make no difference in the final analysis.
Objection!
I disagree. I mean, after all, I have the street map here, if that'd be much of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been running from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would have almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he would have passed that location at all. Would that be true? My, it rather depends on where the other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be impossibility. I knew I got the right voice for a Southern Belle. Yeah. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said? Absolutely. It absolutely could be right. Inspector Gregson, where is the Your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. What do you mean, obviously? You wouldn't have had. Turns out that Your Books is just here on the next corner of Mersham Street going east. Local Maps information has been updated. And there you have it. As you can clearly see now, it doesn't make any difference. Oh. I mean, it would mean that he would get to the point later than would be necessary. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus. Put that glass down now, or I'll put you down out, or I'll put it down for you. I didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. The accused was coming from Your Books instead of Bourbon Books. There's no doubt he would still have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Wherever the man purchases musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Dead. As I suspected, you can't pull me. I don't suggest you try. What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now. Beg your pardon. Terribly sorry, but could you mind speaking that? Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't give up. What do you mean? If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty. We haven't said anything. We weren't going to say we're going to give up. But she's absolutely right. We must think. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. It claims Saseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from Your Books, but... guess this would count as the side. I mean, I guess I should raise an objection, but the thing is, this thing here makes me think that I shouldn't. I'll save just in case. The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. Returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Netsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way round. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the scenic route, have you heard of it? The answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime.
Objection!
But, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I have already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. I don't believe this. I thank you, my learned friend. Suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what do you say, insightful jurors? But even if that is the case, the defense still... I agree with Lord Van Zeeks, wholeheartedly and in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean we members of the jury are completely convinced now? Very well, in that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to once again make it all go to one side, so I have to find the one thing between each one so that I can be like, actually, it's like this. Present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
Oh, voice.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
I didn't expect them all to be voiced. They weren't before. Whee! It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably. Mr. Naruhodo. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. It's the eyes of a quarry not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your right again to this trial. Rights the defense written into antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with summation examination. All the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his unctuous refusal to throw in his alley. Ah, yes. A jury who has a bias against the defense. That couldn't go against the law, surely. Keep him on the jury. Very well, then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Judicial findings. The juror's contentions. For pity's sake, the little Nipponese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he? If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim. The man wouldn't have gone around the house on the way back from the bookshop, not in winter. Oh, the poor woman was attacked from behind, wasn't she? How dreadful. I really don't care. Can't we just write this up now? We've got work to be doing. More books, yes. Nice shop, that. But more books? No, not worth a visit. With only minor exceptions, the reason for the findings, defendant guilty, are all too clear. When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant had fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict his man already. Oh dear, even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now. Why did he have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? This is impossible. How can I possibly make a case for the defense? Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. You must make something up. If you want to force the trial to continue... Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least. Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward. You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination. Yes, my lord. Ooh. I just need to keep this trial going somehow, whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke, you can do it. I'm gonna cut you all down with my samurai sword. The defense rebuttal. I think I can press him.
Hold it!
Excuse me, but aren't you... Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself just 2 days ago. Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the side of it, anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? But that's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. And it was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute. Sorry? Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young Hannah pegged as criminals. Oh, well, you know, water under the bridge. Well, now there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop. If I could turn back the clock... Well, anyway, I don't know about the Hannah, but at least I'm in the clear now. I'm free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. It's literally been a day. You're saying that they've been badgering you for all of 24 hours? Thank goodness. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind given our awkward mystery. Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now.
Hold it!
You're right at the time of the incident. The defendant admits to have seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him. Well, quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly, that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly, that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing moustache is the culprit. But let us not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman. Oh, why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life's over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward, honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes. But if that's a lie as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible? Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say that what goes through your funny little minds? I could tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it. Propped up. Son of a gun. I do declare that the man had already made this suspicion. He himself has stated that there was nobody else around. Surely that conclusion is obvious. No one else could have possibly committed this awful crime. If no one else could have done it, the accused might have been the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple. Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit. Oh my, not too kind, my lord. That went well, for her.
Hold it!
But you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken from your books. Oh, yes, you're likely drawing your map, you mean? What was it, Calabash Road or something? Precisely. But it seems to me that would count as whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yeah, that's true. At that moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes, that's true as well. And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yeah, that's annoyingly true. The winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yeah. Why is this all true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went along Briar Road. I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I have given it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did. I mean, if there was some logical reason why he might have gone through the Calabash Road way, it would be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. The reason why Sasaki-san might have taken the longer way home. Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway this young man's opinion without one. I'm making everyone fucking southern now! Stop! Oh, the woman of the poor... So the poor woman was attacked. Shut up! Whatever's the matter, young man? You're the wife of Mr. Garrideb, aren't you? Landlord who rents Mr. Natsume his room? The master's wife? What is just your idea, sir? And the maid, you understand? She's keeping up that charade. This is going to be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you'd be selected for the jury in this trial, I mean? Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial, you see. It was in the letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice. I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant takes lodging in your master's house, doesn't he? Yes, that's right. Although he's been a little over a week now. And in that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this? Oh my goodness me, yes. He's just the sort. What? Spending all his time in that dark and dingy room, sporting that unscrupulous mustache. The man never speaks, and don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbors are talking about him. I've heard them, you know. People might think he must be building a bomb in there or something. Oh dear, poor Natsume. How could people say such things about him? He's just a harmless bookworm, nothing more. Well, you just called him a worm, so... Anyway, I better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She's had enough damning things already. Just give her some cake and that'll shut her up.
Hold it!
A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too, and so is my family. The likes of you wouldn't understand, but a laborers like me can't afford to take time off, because we get paid the pits. If I don't work, I don't eat. And neither do wife or kids. Oh, I see. That must be very hard. I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. If you're late and the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, that water-zone grass supply pipes bursting left and right center. They're after cheap labor to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's hard slog. From dusk till dawn it is. So, you were out digging the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? That's right. In fact, if I remember correctly, it was just round the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. What? Another coincidence. That's right, Mearsham Street it was. Mearsham Street. On the map, Mr. Nahara, there are only 3 named streets. Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point in that? Why don't we just get this business over with now? Please, sir, it's important. Fine, I'll do it then. The day it happened, I was digging up Mearsham Street till dusk till dawn.
Objection.
Yep. Those 2 statements are clearly at odds with one another. At odds, counsel. Explain yourself. Please don't point. It wasn't me, I swear. Yeah, what? I just want to get this done and dusted. Why is he posing like a freaking bodybuilder? Well, juror number 3? Oh, me, sir? Oh, what do you want? What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on the map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsumi visited this bookshop to purchase a number of second-hand books. And on that same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Mearsham Street, making it impassable. Which means the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Mearsham Street and down Briar Road. Oh, yes, of course. What do you think, sir? Well, yes, you can't argue with it really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. So the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have. I suppose that must be right, eh? Junior number 3, you said the following. The man who wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But we see now that he had no choice. Yes! My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may. Yes? I don't think in all good conscience that I can say that a man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. I like to think those 2, jurors are married. Just because I give them the same accent. What about you, sir? Who, me? Well, all right then. If there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in, that's what I say. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful. Well, we've managed to find a couple of minds at least. Or change a couple of minds. It's strengthened our position somewhat. You like to think the judge and Strongheart are married? Wow. Okay. In London, in the 1800s. Hey. Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. Turns out they're brothers, so it's even worse. You've made it terrible now. The judge and Strongheart are secretly brothers, estranged at birth, but then they find each other and become best of friends and lovers. Yes, it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. And they'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if only we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsumi. We might be able to tip the balance completely. Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Zieks is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to present, by whatever means we have at our disposal. What if, now I'm just spitballing here, what if he wants to get the trial over with quickly, so then he doesn't have what he thinks is a curse affect the defendant? So it's more like a self-sacrificing thing. He just wants the whole thing to be done, so then the guy will end up living to be punished for his crimes. Because he might not like that the people he convicts or goes against end up dying. Thank you, counsel. On the summation examination, please. Yes, my lord. I'd say not guilty at this point, so I can see where this trial goes from here. Whether it's digging up roads or digging up the truth, I've got to see it through to the end, haven't you? Now it's you, juror number 6.
Hold it!
Sorry, hold it, you say? Hold what? No, what I said was hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often? Like the old books they have in there, yes. I've enjoyed reading them once over a nice cup of old tea. Well, that's my daily routine, you see? Same thing happened every day, including the day you're all talking about. And at what time did you visit your books on the day of the question? Day in question. Well, I was picking up books there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. And that's my daily routine, you see? Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. He looks like a dwarf. I just noticed. I was thinking like, at first I was like, he kind of looks like Santa Claus, but the more I look at him, he looks like a fantasy dwarf. Just before 5, you say? Exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time? Oh yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had. What do you mean? Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and bonked my head. It's always worse after the snow stopped falling, and that's when it's most slippery. I'm worried about you hitting your head because you're elderly, and falling in the snow when you're older is not a good thing. It's funny when you're younger because you can take that kind of hit, but when you actually hit your head, then you can get a concussion from that. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up. Wait a minute, let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road. Oh, that's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is quite the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant. Sorry, extremely sick. No, I'm quite alright now. You've changed sure of the jurors' minds, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, just 2 more to go. Deliver the finishing blow now. It's time to turn the tables here. Wish I knew how to do Suzato takedown. I suppose words will have to suffice for now. Are we going to say that he fell on a knife that was just in the road or something?
Objection!
Those 2 statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning. A flaw? What are you talking about, Consul? Well, juror number 2? Juror number 6? My, whatever do you mean, sir? I got one wrong this is my first time getting it wrong. I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There is at least one fact of which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, I guess I didn't get it wrong. Never mind. He had been to your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. He then returned home on foot. But the man says he has no recollection of his return on journey. That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes. Yes, we're all aware of this. The poor woman who was stabbed, obviously.
Objection!
Can we really be sure of that, madam? Ma, whatever do you mean? I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him that day. The same afternoon that was somebody else's apart from the victim, who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy street in the neighborhood. Oh, my. My goodness, you mean... That's right. I'm referring, of course, to hard of hearing juror number 6. You really suggest the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was a jolly old gentleman at the end of the bench here with me today? I'm very sorry for this, Southern Belle impression if it's god-awful. I'm not American, I'm doing my best. That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man is somewhat similar build to the victim. Oh, look at that. My goodness me. Sorry, you need to pee? And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell. On Calabash Road. Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsumi saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on the Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home. Oh, my. You idiot old man, if you had been so daft as to be roaming out there, we would have boxed this off hours ago. Oh, really? What were you thinking wearing such befuddling coat? What did you just say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk streets these days? Is it a crime to slip over on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat? Is it? My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but... You'd like to change your leaning, I presume. I do declare that I would. Would? I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty. Thank you. And I would too. What? It is a crime to change your mind, is it? Well, I've already lost what you were, old man. I did an old voice, and now I've lost it because I'm trying so hard to do this stuff, Meryl. It's infecting my other voices. Yeah, I win! Well, that summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The eyes, 2. The nose, 4. So the nose have it. Not guilty, as they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
I hate the jurors again. They're stupid and meanies and poo-poo heads. And I like smashing glasses. Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hallowed chalice moments after raising an objection? Only to crush it in disgust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zieks? It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them insightful. Yet here we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer. Huh? Whatever do you mean?
Objection!
He's calling you stupid! I've not tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed, stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you had to excavate it, sir. That's right. We took the whole day and they paid me a nearly measly tuppence for it. Now, my loving Japanese friend. Japanese. Do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. What? Did you perhaps erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing your sight of worms? I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches could have hoped to pass you anyway, and we'd just turn any gentlefolk back when they come. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he would spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town. Is that true? Is it? The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road. Crushed in a single sentence. And old man. Old man? You can talk. You say that around 5 o'clock, the day in question, you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious looking Nipponese behind you at the time? Can't say I remember. You don't remember? How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was the old man that the accused saw, but I would slay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Oh, what happened to my throat? Order, order! Lord Van Zeeks, explain yourself. My lord. You had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve. Why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination? I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits. They have been reached, I fear. Goodbye, Cape. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. What are you talking about? My lord. The prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Granted, bailiff, bring forth the witness, says. Its next witnesses? Mr. Naruhodo, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. Yes, I remember, one of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness. Alright, no matter who Van Zeeks brings to the stand as his witnesses, no matter what they say, I believe in Sozeki-san. I know he's innocent, and I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over. To be continued? Nope. Wow! You look like you're from completely different games. Witness, please state your name and occupations for the court. You look like children. You're not really a policeman, are you? They wear the same scarf. Constable Riley Beatley, sir! Nothing to report on the streets, sir! Patricia! And I'm Miss B. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town hero's wife. What's the story here? Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we've celebrated our first anniversary only the other day. No, it was your husband I was talking about. He seems tired. Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honourable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually. Indeed, part of the from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. Patricia and Rolly Beat patrol the beat. Yeah, I got it. I just didn't say anything about it. And they patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check the meters are reading true. And they're responsible for keeping the streets clean and lighting and extinguishing our street lights. But there are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet, I'd be collapsing long ago. But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. But the London Bobby is a man of honour. And a man of slumber. A mundane question. This man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction. And they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat? That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly? Constable Rolly Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the streets, sir. What a great witness he's going to be. Very good. I'll have to look it up, Raffatron, because... yeah. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw in the afternoon of the incident. Yes, sir! Oh. Witness testimony. What the witnesses saw. It was our wedding anniversary and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change or after work. Anyway, two of the silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed onto the floor, and then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then we went for help for a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him as clear as day. She's the only one talking. Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say. Oh dear, this policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsumi at the scene. If their testimonies is true, the alternative course of events that you establish in the summation examination will be quashed. It's death knell, fact. Because that alternative was never viable in the first place. It's an unfortunate bechancing, and your wedding on your wedding anniversary too. Oh, I know, but I still managed to go out for the evening with my man, and I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed. Indeed, however, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the events of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without a doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsumi. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less, so we appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Except that the man's so tired, his wife has to do all the talking. Enough preamble. The counsel of the defense, commence the cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. And there's no way police could be lying on stand. It's not like they've done it before.
Hold it!
No time to change after work, you say. Are you also a member of the police, Miss B? Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply. Yeah, I think they only started allowing that in, like... This is the 1800s, so maybe the 1900s? Or, like, early 21st century? And, well, I could probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you? I think Raleigh ever looked so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down the ground, doesn't it, darling? He's so sleepy. Oh, whoa. I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy. I was doing the right voice for that then. Oh no, Rolly. I very much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy. She's attracted to men in uniform. Oh no! Once he takes it off, she's off to someone else. Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you finished your beat for the day, correct? That's right, sir, yes. Although I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But policing is my life, sir. As long as I'm proud owner of this, I serve my city and my queen to the end. What's that now? My warrant card, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. It was the noble founding principles of the force written on it, as a reminder to all policemen as our sworn duty. Patrol the streets of London down and uphold the peace of the common man. Sir! And for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without a grumble. Because I know that the belonging of my boots is all the Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then. But, sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Miss Beat, or Mrs. Beat, puts up with a lot of being married to a bobbyhead like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. That's a picture for sure. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, what a charming couple. And their young love is such a joy to behold. If a little over the top, perhaps. And then kindly describe what happened next. That was only the first one. I actually thought I went through more than that. We wrote that was all to do with the first point.
Hold it!
Two silhouettes. That's right. They were coming towards us, walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction. Why is my... There we go. Oh! There was a particularly plump figure, followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. That does sound exactly like the victim as pictured in this print, and like Mr. Natsumi. Yes, fortunately it does. But you are certain that at the time there was nobody else near. Oh yes, quite certain. It was dark, but there are streetlights on Briar Road, you see. What? How old are they meant to be? I don't know. Say in the court record? "23, 21. She is unknown." Well, there's lights in Briar Street, as you see. There was nobody else around at all, isn't that right, my darling? Well, yeah, that's right. Of course, there was a light bulb on the ground. Briar Road is a dead straight, and you can see fairly a long way down the pavement. And then there was a street lighting as well. I didn't see any other pedestrians. Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer please, Mr. Beat. Are you quite sure of what you just said? Yes, sir, as a copper who spends all day, every day, keeping watch on the street, I swear to it, sir! I'm sure as my love for Patricia is true. Oh, but... Oh, Rolly. I'm still maintaining there was no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It's starting to seem like that must be how it really happened. It's beginning to seem like there's nowhere to run. Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsumi, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly. Thank you. I believe we have a reasonably clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed?
Hold it!
Scattered something. What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what was at the time. But then when we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling? Oh, yeah, that's right. It was the same old books. I see, old books. Yes, sir. The copper had stopped a number of them, and all around where the victim lay on the pavement. Indeed, as clearly pictured in this photographic print. That rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed.
Hold it!
Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker. But we saw him. He was the man in the dock without question. So, the moustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose, everything. Any more insults you want to throw in? And that's right, he looked down at the poor, defenseless woman with those terrifying, intense eyes, and then suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away. I see. This is tough. They seem to be as though they're telling the truth here. May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Therefore, there's no denying that it's true. Now, please continue. Yes, sir. It's funny when he just collapses afterwards.
Hold it!
Well, what is your husband who went to the Oh, was it your husband who went to fetch for help? No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling? Well, yeah, that's right. I asked Mrs. Beat to go. I was off duty by that point. But a Bobby's never truly off duty, of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene. Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of the crime is a task of a considerable importance. Well, that's why I said Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box. Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box? Depends on the crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. And where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat. So I told Patricia the way to the police box for the beat that incident fell under, so she could go and report it. I ran there as quick as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There was nobody more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know? Thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved, the actions of two model citizens. Oh, please, you're making us blush, isn't he, darling? There's something weird about her side profile. It looks odd. It's her secret, hidden, true form. That's when it slowly reveals itself for that moment. Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir. Let's move on, shall we?
Hold it!
Surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas stream lamps, would you? We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I have you know. Right. But the lights from the street lamps were more than enough. My husband already told you what the fog was like, didn't he? Yes, one of the fog. We're famous for it across the globe, I believe. I don't know why. Fog goes everywhere. It's not just related to Britain. I mean, sure, it happens more often. Doesn't mean that we're famous for fog. If anything, we're more famous for rain. But it's an absolute menace to those who have had to live with it, of course. Oh, it is, it is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand in front of your own arm. Yes, all right, I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about? The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. Not really, but okay, I'll take that. That's why we can tell for sure and certain that it was the little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling? Yes, it was the accused and make no mistake. The moustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose. Unmistakable, sir! As far as the couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It's Soseki-san they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beach saw what they saw. Mr. Natsumi running away from the scene on Briar Road that day. Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does it leave us? The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after his testimony. Oh no! What do we do? If Kazuma-sama were here... What are you trying to say? That he's better than me? I'll show you who's better! I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within the testimony. What do you mean, somewhere else? Their statement about seeing Mr. Natsumi is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of the testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of that day is accurate. Oh, right. Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in their statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. Ugh, why do I always seem to be so against it? Up against it. Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something? Oh, yes, of course. What is it? Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right, is it? Well, out with it. What? No. Oh, no, it's really not that at all. My husband's a policeman, remember? I know what I saw. I remember every last detail. Everything. Like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one I could. Every single one. And you dare question how reliable my testimony is? That will do, Miss Beat. No, it won't do at all. The Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Raleigh will. I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fist down. Just doing my job. Perhaps you would like to take the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. Beat. Might that appease you? Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? Well, tell me then.
Hold it!
Yes, we know that there are books dropped at the scene of the crime, as you say. Those purchased by the accused at the nearby second-hand bookshop on the day in question. After I'd been to the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over this area for a good measure. I'm a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did it for Rowley. And what was your husband doing at the time? Oh, he was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest. He works ever so hard, you know. Ever so hard. Don't you, my darling? Interesting way of guarding the scene of the crime. Well, Miss Beat, seeing as you regaled the court with your tales your powers of recollection, would you be so kind as to recount the titles of the books you observed at the scene? I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening? There was the picture of Monsieur and somebody or other, and What's It Yearnings, and then there was a meal for someone, and the last one was definitely the Thingy Gummy something. Wow, you're so helpful. You've got a brilliant mind. You can remember everything. A meal for Garibo, Canterbury Yearnings. She's adding on one more book that we didn't have here. Plus here only shows 3 books. You see? Yes, I see there are 1 or 2 holes in your memory. Oh, well, they were along those lines, I'm quite sure. There were indeed books found at the scene with titles along those lines, as you put it. Well, what did I tell you? So I think it's very mean the way you've been implying that my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree, darling? Anyone who's sent by a pritch to show will have to answer me! He pulled out his gun. Terrifying. Yeah, she really is. So, this is it. Terror testimony. Blah, 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 blah. Already read all that. Yeah. Bloom, bloom. Yes. Skip. Get me to the end. Here we go. There were only 3 books.
Objection!
So, you're saying that there were 4 books? That's right. I remember all of them. A picture of Monsieur Somebody, What's It Yearnings, A Meal for Someone, and the Timmy Gummy Something. I'm sorry, Mrs. B. But there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours. Oh no. What? What flaw? Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4. What? This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books. Your books? Yes, and it details Mr. Natsumi's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed. Only 3? But no, that can't be. I remember seeing them. There were 4 books, I tell you, 4 dirty old books. Oh, really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see from this evidence as well, there are only 3 books. But I just don't believe it. I saw them there, I swear it, I saw them. No, madam, I'm afraid your powers of observation cannot be relied upon. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could have very well been mistaken. Oh no. Oh no. No!
Objection!
He looks annoyed. It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What? What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well that you have no hope of disproving. So you strive to avert attention from that by the dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? He seems right through me. But your plan is somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. The policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect. Oh. You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene of the crime, seen on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books. That's right, you can see in that print. That print? You mean to say... Allow me to present another. One that shows the victim's hand, which I could have shown earlier, but for some reason I wanted to hold it back so I could show you that I'm better than you. The Lion's Pride. And it's burned. She was at the house. I don't believe it. It's the 4th book. As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. No. No! Either that or she was eating the book. Order, order! There, you see? Look at that. Look. Yes. It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling? Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir. Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. This beat. The titles once again, if you please. Oh, yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur and somebody or other. The picture of Monsieur Lecourt. What's it, yearnings? Canterbury yearnings. A meal for someone. A meal for Gamborio, in fact. As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Pete's power of recollection can only be described as exceptional. Did you hear that, Rolly? The gentleman paid me a compliment. Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless. But there are only 3 books on the receipt. Miss Beat mentioned 4. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly the 4th book in which is shown in the photographic print. I'm sorry, counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, Mr. My Lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, belongs to the victim. The victim was holding her own book. I wonder, what became of that 4th book? Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. We'll submit that and the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, counsel. My pleasure, my lord. Second crime scene photograph has been added. The 4th, title is Lion's Pride. The prosecution rests. Gotta put my feet up and have another drink. Let me see. It's a book titled The Lion's... Oh, excuse me. Pride. I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all. So it wouldn't be something I've heard. Wait a minute. The Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I have heard of a book by that name before. And very recently, too. It's a title I recognize too, Mr. Naruhodo. But it was in the house. Or the place that lived. Oh, look at this. The book has been badly burnt. You're right. I've never been able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages. What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently. A book, recently damaged by fire. Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me? The back cover is badly burnt. Yay! New evidence for me! Can I open the book? No. Can I eat the book? I have nothing further to add. What? You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious, longer route to the accused lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination. Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I? You see, everything we've said is true. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat. So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions. Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all of the witnesses and seen all of the evidence. This trial has run its course. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we're in a terrible, precarious position. I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse. Think, Ryunosuke, think! What do you do now? Wait and see. I should just keep quiet now and see what happens. Well, it appears the defense has no objections at this juncture, in which case... Mr. Naruhodo, was it not clear? The case for the defense is in great danger. Yes, I realize that, which is why I decided to let the sweat drip from my trembling brow in silence. You're so right. Sorry. If I don't say anything now, it'll be all over. It won't end with us well for us. It can't let that happen.
Hold it!
No, wait. The defense...
Objection!
The offense I'll have to wait. Because that sapless hesitation cannot go unpunished. Really? Okay. Isn't your decisive finger-pointing punishment enough? No, my learned friend. It's over. The last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, but you failed. The die has been cast. There is no more room for debate. Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point. Your insignificant little eastern isle must be a lawless hole indeed. For a lowly judicial system to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this. Oh. I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable. Mr. Naruhodo. One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance. So the court will hear your madam. Hear you, madam, not hear your madam. Go ahead, Mr. Zato, please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to disturb? Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the lost cross-examination finished. I see. I believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you? Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. I already done it. I'm ready. Yes, I understand. Thank you, Mr. Zato, for basically just saying, hey, we have an idea, and Naruhodo's the one who has it all. That's all I'm going to say. That's it. This is it. Susanna-san has been managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently puts a profound side to the case and has hitherto been overlooked.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no insignificance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear? Oh, yes, my lord. It's, Mr. Naruhodo, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track. Yes, I think you're right. So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case, which is the fourth book count seals? There you go. Been badly damaged by fire here, so much so that you couldn't read it at all anymore. That's right, such a pity. You do see the flaking edges of the burnt pages, Mr. Naruhodo. That's sure a sign that damage occurred relatively recently. Yes, a book damaged in a recent fire, blah, blah, blah. That definitely rings a bell.
Got it!
Got it. I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? Why do you... Oh, good gracious. It's been burnt to a crisp. So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It's undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese friend? Oh, were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there is nothing to discuss. So should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day, pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charged book hide? Charred book. There is just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance for him, certainly. Worth a try. All right, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us waiting any longer then, counsel. Explain the theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage his sorry tome has suffered? Its owner. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner. I beg your pardon? But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hands as she fell to the floor. After all, it's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the question of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers. Good gracious, how could you possibly? Very well, play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of this jury may very well burn you if you grumble goes awry. Counsel, the defense response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book? Now, do I present her, or do I present him? I'll go with John.
Take that!
The answer in this is that the book belongs to the couple who owns the house where the defendant had his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb. The landlords. And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garrideb herself. Oh my goodness. Me? I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mrs. Garrideb's wife. I'm his maid. Things could be so much more easier if you would just drop the pretense. All right, then how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garrideb's house? I would never presume to know all of the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say. You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room with the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house. Good Lord! What sort of incident, counsel? A fire, my lord. Afraid to say it happened to be in the blink of an eye. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. I didn't take for the fire to spread, of course, but the bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite book called The Lion's Pride. That's his new pose. Lion's Pride. By Jove, the very same title of the subject of the debate. Oh, dearie me.
Objection!
This is reasonable. As you've told the court, there's a book that by the same name was involved in a fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. and entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garrideb was considerably enraged, and apparently she continued to attack Mr. Garrideb even amid the flames. Oh, how awful. I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you, Rolly? Absolutely not, sir. My Majorshepard would never raise a finger against me, sir. I say she just strangled you multiple times. I had all my favourite novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, there was that whoosh, up in smoke. And then the wife started hurling things at me. There was I, back up against the window, under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books coming in 10 to dozen. The man had his back up against the window, and burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious, are you suggesting the book was thrown through a window and had landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime? You know, every single time they do, like, goodness gracious, I can't help but, like, puff up my cheeks and say it like a disgruntled, like, gentle, like, man. Like, old man. Like, oh, goodness gracious me. You know? The only people that say that are those people.
Objection!
No. A thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident, and there was no report of the Garrideb's window pane being broken. That's quite true. We also saw no signs of broken glass when we entered the Garrideb's household. But is it not conceivable that the window was open at the time? Not even remotely. Let's not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave the window open in the middle of winter. Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? You earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garrideb's wife. I believe it's a possibility, my lord. That's quite enough. I'm pretty sure it's the lady. Well, I hope that everyone can see through you what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward. Really? Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight, honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with the beastly case, not any of it. All you have done is solely our family's name. No, I assure you that was never my intention. Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to avert attention from your failing defense. Sir, I should box your ears for what that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable. Too right. Here we go. How long have we sat here now listening to this Nipponese spouting out his fancy foreign theories? But think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache, and he ran away from the scene too. I do declare you're right. It's true. Yes, that's what I did. Why did I tell you? Makes sense to me. Sorry? What's that? Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Van Zeeks? In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessary protracted proceedings. But then one must always exercise patience in order to savour the best vintage. No, wait! The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... If books are your predilection, my dearest learned friend, study them in your own time. What? No forgive the discourtesy this time? In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability of the court to hear.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty.
We're here again!
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Thank you for that ambiguous response. That's twice now. It's over. Mr. Nahoro, don't give up. Mr. Zano, have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting... Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. Because, you know, we had to make you do another one. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. My lord, the defense must to exercise its right to summation examination. Huh. I believe you still have tricks up your sleeve. I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. There's no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. We continued? Hey! There we go. I got it right that time. We continue. Woo! I was worried they're going to make me do it for a second time in the same part. There's got to be a limit on the amount of times you can do this, though. Like, it'd be kind of broken if you're just like, okay, well, everyone thinks that he's guilty. Well, I'm going to do a summation examination every single time it comes up. Now, if you're actually good at your job, you wouldn't have to. I wish I could pause it now. And I will say no. You don't get one. How long are we going for? 2 hours. This is definitely a good place to stop. So exit game. Don't save, because we already did. Yes, I want to quit. And that is where we will stop for today. So, thank you all for joining today, everyone. Hope everyone enjoyed. I don't know if my voice was up like as good as it usually is. I don't know what was up with me today. I think there's something wrong with my throat. So, regardless, I hope everyone enjoyed. We are going to be starting the next part of this on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. We will see if we can save Mr. Netsuki or Natsume and see what happens. Oh, my throat's really, really there now. But yes, thank you all for joining today. Hope you all enjoyed. As usual, if not already, like, follow, subscribe, bell notifications, and all that stuff. So you know when I next stream and you like it and it gets me out there and all that stuff. If you want to support me directly, there's links to Patreon and tips. And if you do become a patron, you get your name added to the patron list here. I give you a shout out in every stream, like I do with Hiro Kuni, the Soulmaster 37, and Rafatron 2000. I thank you for the continued support. I very appreciate you all. And we get put through the ringer and the court multiple times until we find the truth, which will probably be next time. But yeah, thank you for joining, everyone. You all have a nice rest of the day. I'll see you tomorrow where we'll be back with more Dying Light, or I'll see you Thursday when we got more of this. So until then, have a good one. Bye, everyone. Bye, Rafatron. Bye, everyone else. See